wonder why there is such a thing as capital punishment? Does capital punishment work for society? Did you know that capital punishment is used for protecting the safety of the citizens, deterring crime, and bringing criminals to justice? Though the purposes are convincing, none of them can justify the killing of a human being. During my speech, I will tell you some reasons why capital punishment should be eliminated. Death penalty is more expensive than life without parole. According to an article, The Cost of Punishment, in July-August edition of the Academic Search Premier database, because of higher pre-trial expenses, longer trial, jury selection, extra expenses associated with prosecuting and defending a death penalty case, and the appeal process, it costs us, the taxpayers, much more to execute a murderer than to house them for life in prison. In 2003, the Kansas legislature found that the death penalty case cost the state $1.26 billion compared to $740,000 to house them in for life without parole. A 70% difference. If the death penalty was replaced with a sentence of life without parole, it would save millions to be spent on programs that actually improve the communities in which we live. The millions that are saved can be spent on education, police officers, public safety programs, child abuse programs, and services of crime victims and their families. With that being said, according to the article, punishment and violence is the criminal law based on one huge mistake. In the fall 2000 edition of the Academic Search Premier database, a person without a conscience who had the desire to kill will kill because they fear nothing, which means they don't fear the death penalty. Does the death penalty really work? And the person want to kill, they gonna kill.
Right.
And just knowing that they may die is just a sure thing where, I don't have to live with the fact that I killed someone. I know I'm gonna die. Death actually will relieve them of the reminder of the violent crime they have committed. Therefore, death by execution is by far too good for the worst criminal. Allow them to wake up every morning, day to day, living with the fact that they have killed someone, with only 1 hour of time by themselves outside, in life until they die. According to the article Dying Out in September 24, 2011 edition of the Academic Search Premier database, California carried out an execution every other month. From 1952 to 1967, the murder rate increased 10% and annually on average. Keep in mind that between 1967 and 1991, when there were no executions in California, the murder rate increased 4.8% annually. Basically means death penalty actually caused a rise in homicide than it decreased. And when it didn't have any death row inmates dying, it didn't increase as much. The study also found that 4 months prior to the well-known killer execution, the average monthly number of homicides were 306. 4 months following the highly publicized execution, an average of 333 persons fell victim to homicide, an astonishing 9% increase. In other words, this shows that death of a fellow murderer had no effect whether or not they will commit the crime. This also proves that death penalty is not an effective deterrent of crime. They didn't care whether somebody died or not. Consequently, there are always a risk of executing someone that could be, innocent. According to the article, I committed murder in the October 3rd, 2011 edition of Newsweek magazine and the article Swinging 60s, the abolition of capital punishment in the December 2008 edition of the Academic Search Premier database. We must leave open the possibility that we might later reverse a conviction and thus need to apologize to the person who was wrongly accused. 130 people were wrongfully convicted and sentenced to death because of it was sentenced to death, but because of DNA, they was exonerated and released from prison. In conclusion, quoted by Dr. Rush, a friend of Benjamin Franklin, the punishment of murder by death is contrary to reason and to the order and happiness of society and contrary to divine revelation. Capital punishment does not reduce the incidence of violent crimes. Capital punishment needs to be abolished and is cruel and inhumane, and that can never be justified. The death penalty is the easy way out for criminals because they aren't really learning their lesson. Now, how can they when they are dead? I guess. I mean, this week.
Thursday.